This conference will now be recorded.
So, what is the point in just rethinking about what is in our DNA? But, friends, I would like to say that nothing has changed, but within last 20 years or so, Earth has become flat. We can have contact with anybody from any point on the Earth. And these 20 years have changed almost every aspect of our life. And that's why we need to revisit our roots. As we know, all organisms are in a dynamic balance, dynamic equilibrium. They are taking energy from outside world and using it so that the entropy, which usually goes on increasing in according to law of thermodynamics, but in every organism this law of thermodynamics is upside down. Every organism is highly ordered, its entropy is very low, and law of thermodynamics says that entropy goes on increasing. But every organism from its birth to its death is continuously maintaining a high level of order. And this is possible only because it consumes large amount of energy. So Ayurveda also says that praninam punarmulam aharaha balavarna ojasam cha. So the diet, the consumables that we consume, maybe the plants may consume oxygen from the air, carbon dioxide from the air, water from the soil, and convert it into carbohydrates, sugars, or starch. Or animals may consume plants or other animals. But the purpose of everything is to get energy from the outside world, which can be used to maintain this dynamic equilibrium. And this diet sustains not just strength, luster, or ojas, or health, it also sustains our sensorium. Without diet, all these cannot be achieved. And what happens when we take some diet? It gives us immediate nourishment, it gives us a feeling of satiety. We feel the trupti. It gives us longevity. It sustains our memory. You know, memory is always stored in the form of proteins in our brains. And these proteins come from outside. It is the diet which keeps our Agni running. It also helps us in keeping our mental balance. So all these are objectives of diet. There are many more. Good voice is also mm, achieved through proper diet. Medha or brilliance, intelligence is achieved through diet. Our imagination is achieved through diet, and it is useful for whatever we want to do on this earth, all earthly tasks, and also what we want to do for achieving paraloka, whatever we want to do to achieve moksha. All these are said to be objectives of diet, benefits of diet. In short, everything depends on diet, right from the dynamic equilibrium to moksha. Sarvam anne pratishtitam. So that is the objective as stated by Ayurveda. In yesterday's lecture, I had elaborated on the sutra Aharam pachati shikhi, doshan ahara varjitah pachati. दोषक्षये तु धातून पचति च धातुक्षये प्राणान. So whatever diet is taken, it is converted into something which can be assimilated by an organism with the help of antaragni, jataragni. And this jataragni works in a manner where first it consumes the food. If food is not there, then it will digest the doshas. If doshas are not there, Agni will digest dhatus. And when dhatu kshaya happens, there is depletion of dhatus, it will be ultimately digesting our life and the organism will die. So Agni needs constant supply of food. But what to eat? Ayurveda has specific guidelines for that. Tatcha nityam prayunjita swasthyam yena anuvartate. For we should consume that which will give us long-term health. Continued long-term health is the objective. A few deviations are acceptable, but they should not become a routine. For Nitya Ahar, we should consume whatever will give us long-term health and which will not produce any disease which is not already present. Ajatanam vikaranam anutpattikaram chayat. The food which will not give rise to any new disease should do no harm. There was one cardiac diet. It was promoted by many physicians across the world. It was termed as cardiac diet. It was supposed to control the heart disease. But what were the long-term effects of that cardiac diet? It was found that this so-called cardiac diet leads to rise in incidence of colonic cancer. So short-term concerns like controlling, say, heart disease should not be so important that they lead to long term. So whatever we are using as diet, we should look at it so that long term benefits are definitely there. Swasthyam yena anuvartate. This anuvartana or long term benefit is extremely important. Many times we want to achieve some short term goals. Uh, for example, overweight people may want to reduce their weight, and then they go on Googling what to do about this overweight problem. They come across some fancy diet, say General Motors diet. They follow it. There is vast amount of protein breakdown. Weight gets reduced in just a few days. But as soon as the diet is stopped, weight gain is very fast. Whatever weight is lost, almost all of it is restored within, say, 15 days. So short term goals mm, are okay if you are suffering from an acute disease, but for long term sustenance, one should overlook the short term concerns but look for the long term benefits. Why I am telling this? There is a study published by Cancer Institute. National Cancer Institute of USA has published a study. It says that serious diseases that are linked to what we eat kill an estimated 3 out of 4 people each year. That is a staggering number, 75%. And these diseases, sometimes diabetes, and all these diseases lead to death of 3 people out of 4. 75% people die due to all these diseases, and all these diseases are linked to diet. So diet, if we um, give proper attention to our diet, we are able to prevent 75% of deaths, and that is something which is worthy to be a goal for society also. So whatever we are going to use, it should not produce new diseases. That is a very simple principle. So the next question is what to eat. Ayurveda has many things to say about this. The first thing is Nityam Sarvarasabhyasaha. All tests should be included in our diet. See, every test has specific sensors or test receptors, and these are not just situated on tongue, they are also present in internal organs. For example, bitter taste receptors are found in lungs or liver or kidneys. So the Ayurvedic concept of vipak is born out with this discovery of taste receptors in distant organs. Majority of taste receptors are on tongue, that we know. We can taste each and every substance with our tongue, but all our organs are also able to taste any substance. There are taste buds or taste receptors in every organ. So every taste has its own functions. People from Ayurveda will know that. But uh, those people who have not studied Ayurveda or who are new to Ayurveda um, should know that every taste, sweet, sour, salty, sharp, bitter, astringent, every taste has a function. It has a function in our physiology. And if any taste is not supplied, then that function is hampered and our physiology is distorted. And that's why we should have food with all the taste ingredients in it. Typical Indian food will always contain all the six tastes. And if those tastes are not included in the diet at the end of our meals, we advise taking a betel leaf और पान. ये पान खाने से क्या होता है, तो हमारे रूटीन डाइट में जो दो टेस्ट नहीं होते, बिटर एंड एस्ट्रिंजेंट, वो पान से आते हैं. एंड दैट मच अमाउंट ऑफ दीज टू टेस्ट आर sufficient for our physiology. So typical Indian diet from any part of the country, may it be Punjabi, may it be South Indian, it is always composed of all six tastes. Now, Ayurveda describes diet in different manners. 4 types, 6 types, or 8 types are described. These are the types mainly according to what pre-processing a food needs before it goes to stomach. Whatever is needed in the mouth itself. So the 4 types are liquids, semi-solids, soft solids, and hard solids. We know the examples of almost everything. Peya, leya, choshya, bhaksha. These are the 4 types. The 6 types include things which can be sucked or things which have to be ground. Charvya and choshya. These are the two kinds added to the basic four types. Means, for example, fruits like mango, they have to be sucked. And during this sucking action, the muscles of our cheeks come into action. They also press on the salivary glands. Production of saliva, which is an essential part in our digestion, is regularized if we have something to suck in every diet. Means not just liquids, not just semi-solids. We have to have almost everything. Things to grind, that is for uh, making the food as digestible as possible. In Marathi we say एक घास 32 वेळा चावून खावा. That means we have to chew every morsel of food 32 times. We have 32 teeth, and all teeth have different functions. And to give exercise to all these teeth, we need all kinds of foods. If we have some slurry, then our teeth are not being used. If
अरे दीदी आना था आपके यहाँ पे प्रियंका तुम बोलो ना कितने बजे आऊँ
if we have something to bite, something to grind, then our teeth come into action. Now, there is the periodontal tissue. Every tooth is surrounded by flesh, gums, and the junction between tooth and gums is something which harbors large amount of microbes. And by giving exercise to every type of tooth, may it be molar, premolar, canine, or incisors, we make those organisms to contribute to the digestion. If we don't have all kinds of foods, these organisms remain stagnant, and these are opportunistic type of organisms. So the food sticks into that interface between tooth and gum. Food lodgement is there, and that food is being digested by the organisms. And teeth and gums are not being exercised, so it will remain there. It will putrefy and give halitosis. But if we include each and every type of food, like liquid, semi-solids, soft solids, hard solids, things to suck, things to grind, all these types, it will give exercise to all our teeth, and we can harness the oral microbiome for its true function, and that is to digest the food. Human cells do less work than what our microbiome does. We have 300 times more cells in our gut than our own cells. Means for every human cell there are 300 microbes in either on skin or in our gut. And all these microbes, they are doing some vital function. They are helping us to digest our food and to keep them on track and utilize them, harness their powers. We need to concentrate on what kind of diet we are taking. See, vitamin B12 is produced by the microbes in our gut. It is an essential ingredient, but we cannot produce it. There are many amino acids which are called as essential amino acids because our body cannot produce them. We have to take those essential amino acids from outside. And all these microbes, they will digest most of the food. The whole process of digestion, 90% is carried out by the microbes and only 10% is carefully controlled by human cells. And they are like switchboard. They will tell the organisms what to do. They will tell different organisms at different times, and those organisms will come into action and do the process of digestion. And this is a very well choreographed dance. Means which organisms are triggered at which time is extremely well coordinated. And this starts from the moment we see our food. Even if that food is not tasted, just by seeing the food, some triggers are produced. Almost everybody must have observed that there is immediate watering or salivation when we see the food that we like. There are a few different additions to these 6 types. There are things to chew. We have to things to grind is different, things to chew is different. That is for the purpose of giving exercise to different teeth. And there are dips. We can have one kind of food which is dipped into another. The combination of tastes that is useful for triggering various organisms. So 4 types, 6 types, 8 types, these are the things. The food should also be compatible or homologous. Means we should not have an allergy to that food. Sometimes we have kind of affinity to some kinds of foods, but these foods may be harmful in the long run. I personally liked paneer to a very large extent. But over the years, I found that whenever I eat paneer, I get some problems with my stools. So I stopped paneer and my problems. So that kind of thing can happen with each and every person. So every person will know what is tolerable to that person and what is not tolerable to that person. So Ahar should be satmya or homologous. It should not produce any allergy. It should be pleasing to the mind, pleasant. It should not be slimy or looking very bad, smelling very bad. That kind of food mm, is not very useful, because a pleased mind will produce some neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters will drive the cytokines, the hormones, and they will take part in uh, various digestive processes. So, a pleased mind will produce better digestion. People have many problems when they are depressed or they are angry, and these problems start with their digestion. The emotions, the molecules of emotions are very important, and Ayurveda says that प्रसन्न चित्त होकर खाना है, जो भी खाना है वो खुश रह के खाना है. And the purpose behind this saying is our digestive process should be in tune with whatever we are eating. Now, the next advice is our diet should be predominantly sattvic. Even Bhagavad Gita describes what is sattvic, what is rajas, what is tamas. Sattva, raja, and tama are three gunas described in Adhyatma predominantly. I look at them in a very different manner. I look at them as evolutionarily stable strategies. Tama, or conforming with herd or inertia, is a strategy, survival strategy. Organisms which are weak, if they are in a herd, they are together, then usually they are safe from predators. So herd mentality is one of the strategies, survival strategies for organisms. And it is easy to conform with what others are doing. You don't have to make any changes. It is very simple. So usually our first instinct is to conform with what others are doing. We are more inclined to have inertia, and that is called as tama in Ayurveda or in Indian philosophy. But it is a very good survival strategy. People who conform with the community, don't go against the community, have a better chance to survive. So this tamoguna gives them better prospects at surviving, and that's why tama is a good evolutionarily stable strategy. Now, what about raja? As we know, there is always a shortage of resources, and those who are aggressive will get those resources in greater proportions. So aggression, Raja is also a good survival strategy. Those who are aggressive will corner large amount of resources for themselves. They will fight over the food, and whoever fights more fiercely will get the food. Whoever who cannot fight very strongly will not be able to get the food and will not be able to survive. So rajas or aggression is also a survival strategy. And these two strategies, tama and raja, are very basic animal instincts. The third, sattvic, is a difficult proposition. It means cooperation. Cooperation for community health, or for betterment of mm, everybody. Instead of just sharing a pie, if we expand the pie, everybody will get uh, greater portion. That is the logic behind cooperation. Human beings are extremely cooperative when they are not being tamas or rajas. They can create great systems with cooperation of all human beings. And this cooperation is sattvic, and that distinguishes us from animals. Means animals will go into forest, they'll eat grass over large tracts of lands, but they will not be able to produce more grass. Whereas human beings have evolved a cooperative system called as agriculture, where we cultivate various nutritious foods, and we can produce so much of the food that we can sustain greater population. So cooperation is something which is very useful for survival, and therefore tama, raja and sattva, all three are survival strategies, and best amongst those is the cooperation, sattva. And therefore Ayurveda describes that food should be sattvic as far as possible. This sattvic food will make you more capable of cooperating with others. There was a recent paper uh, which described uh, what are the traits for successful cooperation. And in that, it said that those who are resistant to invasion are more likely to cooperate. Means these sattva guna people or organisms are not weak. They are strong enough to resist invasions, and therefore they are able to cooperate with other organisms or other human beings. This was a recently published paper in Evolutionary Medicine. So, a sattvic person is not cooperating because he is weak. He cooperates because he can take care of himself and still hope for betterment of society as such, or betterment of large numbers, so that everybody benefits. So all these things are really needed for good diet. Now, in solids, what uh, what food items we should have? There are many classes of foods described in Ayurveda. Shukadhanya, Shalidhanya, Shamidhanya, various types of meats, Lavanavarga, the spices, animal products like milk, ghee, honey, water itself. There are various classes, and Ayurveda describes what is the best in the class and what is the worst in the class. This is a range. Means, for example, in various grasses, wheat is one of the grass. Similarly, barley is there. Almost more than 1,000 species of grass are there all over the world, but only a few of them have been used for human consumption. They have been selected by humans as fit for consumption, and they are cultivated all over the world. Maize or wheat or barley, corn. In India, there is jawar, bajra, mm, then ragi. All these are selected by human beings instead of their counterparts in nature, because they are useful for human beings. Now, food and the consumers of food have co-evolved. The foods are cultivated by humans, so those plants have better survival. Only those plants will have better survival value if they are beneficial to humans. So plants will evolve in a direction which will be better suited for humans, and humans will use those plants, come to depend on them, and uh, have their genes changed in such a way that they use whatever food is available more efficiently. A person who is raised on, say, wheat is very uncomfortable if he has to survive on rice. A person who is raised on rice is very uncomfortable if he has to eat, say, jawar or corn. So, depending upon the climate and suitability of the land, various agricultural crops have evolved, and humans have evolved along with them. There is a co-evolution. So Ayurveda, what Ayurveda says, yasya deshasya yo jantuhu tajjam tasya aushadam hitam, means for any person, uh, the best suitable medicine is from the same geographical area where that person was raised. That means that medicine and that person have co-evolved so that they are most suitable to each other. And this food is our best medicine. So, uh, this sutra, yasya deshasya yojantuh tajjam tasya aushadham hitam, is very appropriate for food. If a person in, say, Kashmir is eating, say, idlis and dosas, they will be very difficult to digest for that person because the climate in Kashmir is entirely different from the climate in South India. Now, in last 20 years, everything has become global. We get mm, olive oil from Italy, we get corn from Mexico, we get sauerkraut from Germany, we get various fruits from Indonesia, and everywhere from the world. We get our food, and we have not evolved along with those food ingredients. So they are difficult to digest for us. But slowly we are going into a stage where we are able to digest such kind of things. Not in very large amounts, but in small amounts we can digest very well. But it is always preferable to have local food. Local food traditions are also evolved along with the people from that area. So the way of doing things in a particular area, the amount of spices and everything is suitable for population of that area. So I think it is a very bad idea if we are having Malwani Chinese or something like that. Means a Punjabi making mm, chole dosa or chicken uttappam. Some such fusion things are coming into popularity, but they are bad for our digestion. Usually, we should conform to our traditional dishes, and that is the advice given by many people. Uh, a few years ago, some of the professors from Ayurveda were selected to hold the chairs at various universities abroad. One of them came to me and what food advice I should give to these people. Then I said, okay, you try to find out what were the dishes the people in that area were consuming 100 years ago. And if you can find those dishes, advise those dishes because those dishes have been co-evolved with the population in that area. So they are most suitable for them. Now, there are various food items which are termed as best of the class. For example, uh, moong, moong or masoor. These are best from pulses. Now, it is a controversial subject because nowadays people prefer soybean. And if we compare the nutritional values of soybean and moong or soybean and masoor, then we don't find much of a difference. Only thing that I would say is for Indians, it is better to have moong or masoor rather than soybean. Um, so, uh, all our traditional things, even spices, uh, see, chili has come to us from Mexico or Brazil, from South America. It was brought to India by Portuguese in their invasions. But we have adapted to chili. Indian food cannot be prepared without red chili powder. That is the situation today. But if we look at the various Supa Shastra classics like Kshema Kutuhalam, we find that chili is not mentioned at all. Uh, we have black pepper, we have long pepper, we have ginger, and these are very good spices. Now in Europe, a different kind of spices are preferred, and those spices are more suitable to European people. So, what is good for everybody should depend on where that person was raised. There are some other things which should be uh, taken care of. One thing is food should be prepared by friendly people. Mm, it should be well preserved. It should be agada sprushta, that is detoxified. It should be well washed. If we are using vegetables, they should be well washed. All the pesticide residues should be washed away. Ayurveda also says that food should be blessed with mantras. The purpose of these mantras is not to bless that food, but to create a feeling of well-being in the person who is going to consume that food. In India, almost everywhere, before eating our own food, we uh, give that food for our deity. भोग चढ़ाते हैं, नैवेद्यम, उसके बाद खाना खाते हैं. Because by doing that particular action, we are triggering our hormones and neurotransmitters in such a way that we will be better able to digest that food. Now, what to eat is something with which we are co-evolved. That one should eat. Now, the next question is when to eat. Ayurveda specifically says that the time for food is when the previous food is digested. The sutra is very clear. विसृष्टे विण्मूत्रे विशदकरणे देहे च सुलघौ विशुद्धे चोद्गारे हृदि सुविमले वाते च सरति तथा अन्न श्रद्धायां क्लम परिगमे कुक्षौ च शिथिले प्रदेयस्तु आहारः भवति भिषजां कालः सहिमतः. So what are the ingredients? There should be movement of bowel. There should be no clogging of bowels or constipation. Micturition also should take place. There should be a clarity of senses. We should not be sleepy or something. There should be a feeling of lightness. If previous food is not digested, we have a feeling of heaviness. And when that feeling goes away, that means ama is digested. Purity of heart. Rud Vishuddhi is the term used. That means we have healthy appetite at that time. Our heart feels light. There is a feeling of hunger that should be present. Now, this is something, feeling of hunger, which can be a true hunger or which can be a false hunger. If it is associated with all the other things like movement of bowel, micturition, etc., then it is a true hunger. If there is a feeling of hunger but no bowel movement or no micturition, no clarity of senses, then it is a false hunger. And false hunger is something which is a sign of many kind of diseases. There should not be any stress. It's when I am going to get my next food, that kind of stress should not be there, or there should not be any stress that I have only 10 minutes, I have to finish my meal and go back to work. That kind of stress should not be there when we are eating. There should be a looseness in flanks. That is also a sign of digestion of armor. If all these things are present, that is the time to eat. Few other rules are there. No food should be taken uh, within 3 hours of the last meal, because usually 3 hours is the time taken for food uh, to cross the intestines. Um, Stomach emptying time is usually 1.5 hours, and after that, when food is in small intestine for almost 1.5 hours, then uh, there is sufficient time period uh, which has passed before the second meal can start. Now, what happens if we take the second meal before these 3 hours? Now, as I said, digestion is a very well choreographed dance. As soon as we see the food, our digestive enzymes are secreted, and these are secreted according to the need of that particular time. Now, what happens if the food, first food is not digested and second food is being taken? Then this synchronization of all these digestive enzymes, that is hampered. This synchronization is hampered, and unnecessary amount of enzymes are produced, or some vital enzymes will not be produced at proper time. They will be produced at a different time, and when there is no synchronization, the process of digestion goes haywire. Instead of being efficient process, it becomes a clumsy process. It requires more energy, it produces stress, and that's why we should not take food before first food is well advanced in the process of digestion, and usually that time is 3 hours. Of course, it will change according to the season. In some seasons, the digestion process is very fast. In some seasons, it is very slow. But 3 hours is uh, one should not stay on empty stomach for more than 6 hours, because at 6 hours, what happens? What we call is sthula pachan is over and sukshma pachan starts. That means the main process of digestion in alimentary canal is over, but process of digestion at tissue level starts. Now, if we don't take any kind of food at this junction, then the enzymes in alimentary canal will start digesting the alimentary canal itself. That's why we should not keep on empty stomach for more than 6 hours. Of course, this is again a generalization. It will differ from person to person and climate to climate, time of day, time of night. Everything will produce some kind of haziness in the curve. But the main part of the curve is within this 6 hours. In Ayurveda, breakfast is not described at all. Ayurveda tells us to have either milk or ghee or honey early in the morning in small quantities and according to our prakriti. If we are Vata prakriti, we should have ghee. If we are Pitta prakriti, then we should have milk. If we are Kapha prakriti, then we should have honey. And this particular small amount of these foods early in the morning, first thing in the morning, are extremely important. And I say that it is Brahmastra described by Sushrut as Rasayan, because early in the morning, if we have sips of milk or honey or ghee according to our prakriti, then all the microbiome in our gut is tuned accordingly, and uh, this is the process, something similar to what musicians do. Before they start the program, they tune their instrument, and this tuning is extremely important for success of their concert. If जो साज है वो अगर बेसुरा है तो गाना अच्छा नहीं होगा. उसी तरह से दिन भर जो डाइजेशन होना है उसका ट्यूनिंग होना चाहिए, और ये ट्यूनिंग आयुर्वेद स्मॉल सिप्स ऑफ मिल्क और घी और हनी और वाटर, these are advised by Sushruta for tuning of our digestive system, and the effect is longevity. This is described by Sushruta, and I have used it in n number of patients, and most of their digestive problems and subsequently all the systematic problems have vanished by just simple addition of this routine in their daily life. But other than that, breakfast is not described in Ayurveda. Ayurveda describes only one meal as a principal meal, and that is the afternoon meal. Even the evening meal should be very light and just to comply with the rule that for we should not keep on empty stomach for more than 6 hours, and for that purpose even the evening meal or dinner that should be taken, and that should be very light. The main meal should be in the afternoon. That is what Ayurveda says. Even when we are fasting, the same rules will apply. You can take lemon juice or some sharbat or something just to keep your digestive system running. Now, Ayurveda says that we have to take bath before eating food. There are people who will not take anything by mouth unless they have taken a shower or taken a bath. This is embedded in our culture, but not so in other countries. There they eat food and then go for shower, or some such things do happen. You see, when we take a bath, our peripheral circulation increases. And when we take a meal, we need our circulation, splanchnic circulation, to be greater than peripheral circulation. Now, if meal is taken, we expect blood to rush to our gut and help with the process of digestion. The gut will need the energy at that time. So, there is a tendency of blood to accumulate in and around gut. And when we take a bath, there is vasodilation, there is increase in peripheral circulation, and by this simple action, taking a bath after meal, we are disrupting our digestive process. And Ayurveda is one of the health science, which uses minimal intervention. So the rules are framed in such a way that very simple actions will take care of large number of issues. And this is one of the rules regarding diet, that bath should be taken before having food. Bath after meal is strictly contraindicated. Now, usually we don't follow these rules and we land into problems. These problems are described in Ayurveda as samashana, adhyashana, and vishamashana. What is samashana? It is combination of what is healthy and what is unhealthy. If healthy food is mixed with unhealthy food, then it is called as samashana. So, if all the food taken is healthy, wholesome, then it is digested in a proper manner. But if there is unhealthy or unwholesome allergy, the food for which you have allergy, if that is taken along with healthy foods, it disrupts the process of digestion. So samashana is something which is to be avoided. Adhyasana, I have already described, eating food before the first food is digested. Taking food before 3 hours are complete. That is called as adhyasana, and that will lead to improper digestion. mm, Something which should take time. See, food, when it goes to small intestine, it takes a very long time to get processed. All the bacteria are patiently working on that food for hours together, and they should be given proper time to do that. Almost all of you have given some exams where multiple choice questions are there. Now, for say 30 multiple choice questions, you usually have 30 minutes. If you are to solve all those questions within say 3 minutes, then there are many chances that you will not solve them properly. If you are given time, you will solve all the questions. But if you are rushed, then you will not be able to solve the questions properly. That is the effect adhyasana is on digestion. Ignoring the state of digestive system, we may eat too much, we may eat too little, or we may at a very wrong time. Mm, People are eating heavy foods in airport lounges at say 3 o'clock in the morning. That kind of things, Vishamasana, too much, little, and time. All these three things called as Vishamasana. Samasana and make any, then there could be a like Ikdam Munjita, Ushnam Munjita, etc. Ahara Vidhi Vishesh, that is what Ayurveda calls it. The use fats should be in proper quantity, be taken after digestion of previous meal. There should not be any conflict in virya of various ingredients in the meal. Means something very hot and something very cold should not be taken together. That kind of things are needed for proper functioning of digestive system. Food should be taken at proper place. One should not eat something in toilet or some such place which is not proper. Then there should be no hurry, but food should be eaten in unhurried manner, but not too slow. Usually, our digestive enzymes they are choreographed very nicely, and 55 minutes is the time period um, from the first enzyme to last enzyme to get secreted. So whatever food we are eating should be taken within 55 minutes. That is the rule which is advised by uh, Dr. Dikshit, The Dikshit diet is very famous nowadays, but that rule depends on our insulin glucagon cycle. Now, the next two rules are slightly difficult to agree with. One should not talk or laugh while one is eating. That is what Ayurveda says. But in most of the countries in the world, lunch or dinner is time for laughing, time for talking, time for interaction. But it is almost a social event in most of the countries. But Ayurveda says, don't do that. You should concentrate on what you are eating, and you should not divert your body to any other thing. When you are talking, various emotions are triggered. When you are laughing, there are chances that you may swallow the food wrongly. It may go into your trachea. You may choke with that. So, for day-to-day purpose, you should stick to the rules that you should eat food silently with concentration according to our own need without any show of emotion. That should be the routine. Social gatherings are okay occasionally. Sometimes you have to mix in community, have food with them, uh, chat with them, laugh with them. That has to be done if you are to remain a part of society. But that should not be your day-to-day routine. It should be an exception, not a rule. There are various rules about how to eat. Ayurveda says that foods should be eaten in a definite sequence of their tastes. The first food that we are going to eat in a meal should be sweet in taste. It should be followed by sour. It should be followed by something salty, then something sharp, and at the end, it should be followed by bitter and astringent. This sequence is again in fine tune with the digestive process. In the first phase of digestion, the carbohydrates are digested, and the enzymes which are needed for this digestion of carbohydrates come from madhura and amla, or sweet and sour tastes. They are triggered by these two tastes. Then lavana, katu, these are the tastes which trigger the protein digestion. And in the end, tikta and kashaya will trigger the enzymes which are responsible for fat digestion. And this is the normal sequence of events in digestion. Carbohydrates first, then proteins, and then fats. That is the sequence in which food ingredients are digested. And the enzymes needed for these phases of digestion are triggered by specific tastes. And that's why Ayurveda describes a rasakrama, madhura, amla, lavana, katu, tikta, and kashaya. That is the sequence uh, which helps better digestion. Digestion without any interruption or in a proper sequence, well choreographed dance of these enzymes and hormones and cytokines and every step of the process. There is another opinion that one should eat fruits first, then have some drinks, then have soft eatables, then have hard eatables, and that should be followed with accompanying drink, anupana. Now, anupana is a vast subject. I'm not going into that, but usually every kind of food should be accompanied with a specific anupana. Sushrut Samhita describes many such anupana with uh, different kinds of foods. Now, in India, almost everything is uh, prepared in such a way that anupana is always included. But in, say, Europe, uh, the type of meat that one is going to eat, it is accompanied by a specific kind of wine. And that is a culture there. Sushruta also describes various wines for various food items. I'm not going into all the details of this anupana, but specific food should be accompanied by a specific drink to go along with that. And that is again designed for better digestion of that food. Means अगर हम घी में बनाई जलेबी खा रहे हैं तो वो दूध के साथ खानी चाहिए, और अगर तेल में पकाई हुई जलेबी खानी है तो वो बटर मिल्क के साथ खानी चाहिए. That kind of things are included in our customs. So Anupan is something which we should always consider while eating. Then there are some more rules. Before start of your meals, you should have a walk. You should walk for say 100 to 1000 steps. Have a stroll, not brisk walk, but a stroll before meals. That will produce lightness in your flanks. It will make your body more uh, receptive to food. Then eat salt and ginger before meal. Bhojanagare sadapathyam lavanardraka bhakshanam. This is a very simple rule which I have used in many patients with digestive problems and many other problems. If you just eat a small piece of ginger with salt, say 15 to 20 minutes before your meals, you are in better position to digest whatever you are going to eat. You are fine tuning your digestive system with salt and ginger. These two things will trigger appropriate enzymes at appropriate time. Ayurveda also describes benefits of different kinds of utensils that we use for preparation of food. For example, silver utensils. If food is prepared in silver utensils, then that food is better for eyes. If it is prepared in bronze utensils, it is a brain tonic. If food is prepared in steel utensils or iron utensils, then it is good for jaundice. Water should always be kept in copper, glass, crystal, or earthen pots. That is the advice given by Ayurveda. Again, minimal intervention with maximum benefits. That is the motto of all Ayurvedic thinking. Now, water is something uh, which should be taken in defined quantities. Many people say that we should have so many liters of water per day. And many Ayurvedic physicians say that don't drink. No water, no water. Atyambupan is cause of Agnimandya. Actually, drinking less water and drinking excess water both lead to indigestion or Mandagni. In excess, uh, if small quantities of water are taken many times, that is okay. Large amount of water taken in a short time may lead to water toxicity. There are known cases of death after drinking 5 to 6 liters of water. So excess water is harmful. But if we take small quantities many times, then it's okay. Ayurveda says that we have to drink water to change the taste. We have already seen that we should take food in specific sequence. First sweet, then amla, sour, then salty. That sequence we have seen. Now, suppose we are eating a typical South Indian meal. There is a rice bowl which is surrounded by different condiments, payasam, and the end with buttermilk. So different tastes are in a sequence in that dish. So that sequence is part and parcel of our traditions. When we finish condiments with one taste, we should have some water to wash away that taste, to make our taste buds more receptive for the next taste that we are going to take. If we take water before meals, Ayurveda says that it will reduce your weight. If you take in between meals, you will be around normal. And if you take water after meals, it will lead to obesity. And this is definitely true, because as we know from the experiments on microbiome, the classical microbiome experiment was which led to probiotic and prebiotic therapies, was the two groups of rats. One group was thin or lean rats, other group was obese rats, and their fecal materials were collected and fed to the other group. And after some time, what happened? The obese rats became lean, and lean rats became obese. So the microbiome in our gut is important for our body stature. And if we take water before meals, we trigger those microbes which make us thin. If we take water after meals, we trigger those microbes which make us obese. So very small interventions, but effects are definitely great. So these rules should be followed. Mm, I think we have started very late, so we should stop here and we should continue this lecture tomorrow, because almost half of the lecture is remaining. So I request uh, all of you to come together tomorrow once again, and we will continue with the lecture. Sir, I have
किसी
power.
किसी को कुछ क्वेश्चन हो तो आप पूछ लीजिए।
हाँ,
इस अब तक के लेक्चर्स में किसी को कुछ क्वेश्चन है तो पूछ लीजिए। डायरेक्ट आपका माइक ओपन करके अनम्यूट करके क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं। एनी क्वेश्चंस प्लीज? सर एक क्वेश्चन है, हाउ मच क्वांटिटी ऑफ घृत और हनी डू वी हैव टू टेक इन उच्चपान?
yeah, this is something which we have to adjust according to our own requirements. So we should do some trial and error, and a quantity means suppose you are taking 1 teaspoon on the first day, then you should observe the effects. If you are thinking that it is not being digested or it makes you uncomfortable, next day you should reduce it. But if you think that yes, you can tolerate more, you can add to it. You should titrate the dose according to your own need. That is what I advise to my patients.